Esoterica, the podcast, where we discuss the unusual, offbeat, and obscure. I'm the Mad Wanderer,
And I'm the Traveler Excessive.
otherwise known as Chris Schultz.
And Aaron Christian.
So I have for us tonight, it's not exactly, well, maybe it's an esoteric in the soda in the sense that it's new. We have a new product that we stumbled across.
Yes.
Comes to us from the fine folks at Fanta, which is a division of Coca-Cola Company.
Fanta. Fanta.
This is a pina colada flavored soda. I'm not holding out a lot of hope here.
No.
'Cause I have had pina coladas, and they're not my favorite thing in the world, but I don't dislike them either.
Ooh.
That was not quite as satisfying as I wanted.
No, it was like a elongated hiss.
All right, before I pour, I'll let you take a sniff, because there's some powerful odor coming out.
Oh
of
my
there.
god.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan already. What does that remind me of? It almost reminds me of Rockstar or Monster.
Oh.
Which
Yeah.
it's Fanta. It's not.
So we ran into this problem. We both really enjoy this sort of ritual of doing an unusual beverage at the beginning. And the problem that we've run into is very quickly we're living in the pandemic 2020 world. You know how some people won't refer to Trump by name? They call him 45.
Yeah.
That's how I'm dealing with COVID-19. It's the pandemic of 2020. That's what I'm calling it. That's not COVID-19. It's not coronavirus. It's
Right.
pandemic 2020.
Pandemic 2020.
So as a result, our ability to come across truly esoteric beverages has been hampered. We went to the corner bodega today, and there was a giant assortment of energy drinks, not so much of a variety of sodas or juices. So this is what we have. And
This reminds me of a Yankee Candle shop.
yeah, I know I often describe things as having a fruity bouquet. This has sort of a cloying bouquet.
A what?
Cloying. It's choking me up.
Oh,
It's like
there's fruit in here,
yeah,
apparently.
it's just over. You know, like an old lady who takes an Irish shower and walks by you, and you're like, oh, it's kind of like that. It's the Irish shower of sodas. My apologies to the bog trotters in our audience. So let's give her a sip.
Yeah. Ew.
It's kind of like a shitty 7-Up.
Do you get that aftertaste?
I think that's supposed to be the pina colada.
It's pineapple heavy in the beginning and coconut heavy at the end. Are you getting that?
Yeah, aren't they supposed to be married?
Yeah, and that's not a marriage.
No, and I think part of the problem is a pina colada is a creamy, like milky beverage. You know, earlier when you were wondering about Gatorade and milk,
Yeah.
I think you've got your answer to that here. This is like, imagine putting milk in soda. It sucks.
Yeah, this is bad. So if we're going to rate this,
I give it a 3.5 because I can drink it. It's drinkable. But I don't care for it.
I want to give it negative numbers so that they owe me points. But
All right, the more I drink, I'm down to like a 2.
yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2-4. 2-4. So the pina colada Fanta, no.
No, that sound was me putting the cap back on the bottle. Okay, before we go any further, I want to take a minute to talk about the awesome folks at Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way. In fact, it's the way that we make a podcast. Let me explain.
It's free.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
And you can make money from your podcast. Best part, no minimum listenership.
Ooh. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
It's so cool. We just We found the service. We started using it. We're making podcasts.
Yeah, making podcasts, making money, having a good time.
So listen, you want to get you out there. You want to be heard. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Thank you.
So you know that Pina Colada song, considering that we just had Pina Colada Fanta?
I like pina coladas. I like dancing in the rain.
I don't know why you like Dancing in the Rain, because the song's getting caught in the rain.
Oh, getting caught in the rain. Okay.
Which I don't like.
I'm not. There was one time I got caught in the rain that I really liked, but that's a story for me. Yeah, I'm aware of that song.
So I can't stand that song.
Oh, I keep drinking this, hoping it gets better, but it doesn't.
It's like the song. I keep listening to it and hoping it gets better, but it doesn't.
Yeah, so one thing I don't understand about the song. So, guy puts an ad in the personals.
Yeah.
Because things aren't going well at home. And the chick that shows up is his wife. And they laugh about it. And I presume have a pina colada and go home and have sex.
Yeah.
She cheated on him first, right?
If she answered the ad,
She
right?
answered the ad. I feel like both of them are acting in an inexcusable way, but I feel like you could put an ad in the personals without ever having an intent of following up on it.
Yeah.
But if your spouse is answering ads and going to meet people, she's stepping out on you, bro.
You see, there's a Family Guy episode where the Peter calls like a phone sex line, and, like falls in love with the lady who happens to be his wife, trying to just get some money on the side, because you know she wants money to like live, and they end up falling in love. It's basically like the TV version of that song, sort of. So it's interesting, but yeah, they're both at fault.
Yeah, I feel like realistically the situation would have ended up with items being thrown and a scene and the police being called and
Yeah.
But
I can see something kind of like coming from it, in the sense that like, well, if you're the one that answered the ad, then like it does mean that we were meant to be together, which that's kind of nice. But like, should it really come to that in the first place? No.
Yeah, right.
No, it shouldn't. But
and he keeps referring to her as my old lady, which I don't like.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of people that call their wives the old lady.
Yeah. I sometimes
that's
jokingly refer to myself as the old man, which is different.
Yeah, it just seems a little too demeaning to me.
Yeah, the old ball and chain.
Yeah, same old song and dance.
There are some songs out there that just bother me. I take issue with, and sometimes for good reasons, and sometimes for not. And sometimes it's not the song necessarily; the circumstances around it.
Yeah, like there's this one band, Sorority Noise, that everybody hates because rightfully so. And we've talked about this before. Like singers and artists are not role models. They're like entertainers for us. That's all it is. But like I think he like touched an underage girl or something. So like that's the circumstance around that music. Like I won't listen to it.
Oh my god, what was that band that the lead singer is like a hardcore pedophile? He was raping babies and stuff.
I don't know.
I remember reading about this, and I've always felt really bad for fans of the band and the rest of the band, because like, dude, you got to burn your shirts. Like, you're never listening to that. He was like legit raping babies. Like,
it's not okay.
Yeah, and writing letters.
Did you see on the news not too long ago? Probably within the past week or so, there was a grandmother. This is off topic, but there was a grandmother that filmed her son, who was like maybe 5 or 7 years older than I am, like raping a 1-year-old girl.
Ugh.
Isn't that awful? The grandmother of the child.
I don't believe in hell, but things like that make me want to believe in hell, because there should be a hell for people like that.
It's a special place in hell for people like that.
Yeah.
That's just awful.
Well, on a lighter note.
Back to songs we hate.
Well, so here's a song that I like, but only under certain circumstances. Are you familiar with Don Henley's Boys of Summer?
Yes, and you know what's funny, when we discussed this 2 seconds before starting it, I was thinking of Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams. For some reason.
Completely different song.
No, I know, but I do know Boys of Summer. Yes.
That song annoys me because Bryan Adams, I don't believe he was like 3 or 4 in the summer of '69. So
Yeah.
sort of like I get annoyed at Smash Mouth with their song "Walk on the Sun" because they stole the riff from the in sound from Way Out.
Yeah. Throwback.
Yeah, but anyway, Boys of Summer. So the song, not only is it about after the summer, when the boys of summer are gone and the beaches are empty, there's a feel in the song that evokes empty beaches. This song, to me, is a seasonal song, much like a Christmas song, and should only be played from Labor Day, maybe through New Year's, and no other time during the year.
Through New Year's is a stretch.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the throes of winter, you could be thinking back longingly to those days.
I'll give you that.
But a lot of stations will play this, like around Memorial Day or in the summer. And I've had this argument with my wife. She's like, the song is called "Boys of Summer," and I'm like, it's evoking the image of the boys of summer who are no longer there.
Right.
It's a post-summer song, and therefore should only be played post-summer, because you don't want to be missing the summer when you're in the middle of summer. It's not a summer song.
Yeah.
It's a seasonal song, just like a Christmas song. It has the time and place. And Don Henley, is Don Henley still with us? Glenn Fry died.
Yeah, I think Don
Henley's still with us.
I think.
I wonder if we can get Don Henley on, because I feel like I need to get
Let's
him.
Google before we make any promises, because he could be so dead.
I feel like I need him to back me up on this. I mean, and I would go with what Don Henley says if he disagrees with me.
Okay, no, he's still alive.
Okay,
good.
But short of that, I'm right. Like, this is a seasonal song. Folks, if you disagree, let me know, because I'm adamant about this.
It's funny you say that about the seasonal song, because you know what song drives me crazy, and only for one line in the song, is the Beach Boys, Little Saint Nick. Because literally he's talking about a sleigh, and he's like talking about Santa hitting the gas and watching her peel. Sleigh can't peel on snow. That pisses me off.
You don't think Rudolph's leaving a rubber strip? Does he wind up like you know the cartoons when their legs start going in a little circle?
Yeah, probably like the Roadrunner.
Yeah, that's a good example. The Roadrunner.
Yeah, I could say
Roadrunner. Coyotes after you.
Yeah, a lot of songs don't bother me per se as much as they. Some songs irritate me,
Yeah. I just feel like if a song is trying to evoke a certain mood, then we should respect that.
Yeah. Keep it within its parameters. For sure. Like if you're talking about Anne Frank in the 1940s, like don't play it just to.
Hey, that sounds suspiciously like a segue.
It does.
Nice. Today's album that we're listening to comes to us from the band Neutral Milk Hotel. You may have heard of Neutral Milk Hotel. They're pretty.
I've heard of Neutral Milk Hotel.
It's funny because I was into them for a while, and then I had mentioned them, and I think Carrie hadn't heard of them, and then April on Parks and Rec is a big fan of the band, so she started name dropping them on a couple episodes. But anyway. They were sort of an indie sensation. The interesting thing about this album, we're going to be listening to In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. Initially, when it came out, it wasn't exactly a flop, but it was not a popular album.
Right.
Became sort of cult status, actually, after the lead singer, Jeff Magnum, sort of had a nervous breakdown and retired from the music scene. So then it became a little more popular. While I would consider it esoteric enough to fall within the parameters of our show, I do think it's worth noting that a number of publications consider it to be one of the top 10 albums of the 90s, as far as artistry and moreover popularity. But it's a benchmark in the indie lo-fi scene. So Neutral Milk Hotel is no longer a thing. They did release at least one other album after this. So one of the things that's interesting about Aeroplane Over the Sea, it's got this lo-fi sound to it, and they use some strange instruments, including a singing saw, a zanzithophone, and Uilleann pipes. Not sure what any of those. I know what a singing saw is, but the other ones I'm not sure. And some of the distortion. In fact, actually, what I read, and this probably makes more sense to you than it does to me, but when they were in the studio, they couldn't really afford the equipment to do standard distortion, so they developed a unique recording technique involving heavy compression to get the distortion sound. So
That's interesting.
So you want to give it a listen?
Yeah.
The first
I want to hear
track,
this compression.
So I should note too that the lyrics in this album are really not clear. There's no real clear narrative. A large part of the album was influenced by Jeff, the lead singer, sort of had an infatuation with Anne Frank after reading her diary.
Really?
Yeah, so that figures in a lot into this, but it's
not like in love with Anne Frank. Right?
I think he fell in love with her voice, the person she was coming through her diary.
Got it. Yeah.
So there's some of that in it.
She was like 15. That's a little...
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But long dead, so, no risk there, I guess.
Let's just start.
But anyway, so that's some of the backstory. So first track is King of Carrot Flowers, Part 1.
When you were young, you were the king of carrot flowers, and how you built a tower tumbling through the trees, in holy rattlesnakes that fell all around your feet.
So that was really cool. It brought in a lot more unique instruments than I expected it to. Like, I know we mentioned it in the beginning, but it was very like I want to say almost like orchestral.
Yeah. There's a lot of that on this album. I like that clean strumming too.
Yeah. That adds a lot. For sure.
It always makes me think that's I don't know.
Well,
like it.
I think like a good clean strum, like it brings a lot of personality. In being guitar player, like one of the things I always think about is how like the way that I play a song is completely different how like another artist may play a song, because my fingers hit the strings differently and my strumming is completely different. So like whenever you hear someone playing guitar, like you're hearing a lot about them as an artist and how they do things. So I find that interesting, and clean strumming, you can really hear that come through.
Yeah. It's funny. When I initially decided that we would listen to this album, I went on to Lyric Genius. Because the lyrics in these songs are sort of off the wall. Whoever is attempting to interpret them should just like not quit their day job, because there's really... and they're like I noticed people were arguing with each other about what the lyrics mean. Jeff's been asked about it, and actually I read in an interview that that's one of the reasons why he sort of had a breakdown and left the band, because he was tired of being asked about the lyrics. So just take them for what it's worth. It's musical poetry. Don't try to think too hard about it.
Yes.
Going back to the Residents, they had a theory of phonetic organization, which they employed on their early albums, and that was that the words themselves, the meaning wasn't important. It's the sound of the words when you're singing, which explains a lot of nonsense stuff that they say. So
For sure.
take that into account here. The next track is King of Carrot Flowers, Parts 2 and 3.
Ooh.
So here we go.
Twofer.
Up and over we go through the wave and undertow. I will float until I learn how to swim inside my mother in a garbage bin, until I find myself again.
So that compression
Mm-hmm.
really started to come through here. I mean, I don't know if you can tell the difference, but I can tell the difference.
Knowing that now, I did detect a difference between what like standard distortion, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what that difference was.
Right. I mean, I probably wouldn't have been like, that's compression. I just, knowing it's compression, I just like, oh, yes, that sounds like compression when you tell me. You know. But yeah, there's a difference.
There's a difference. It's cool.
I don't know if this was intentional. And reading some of the notes on here, it says in an interview, he said it's not based on any religion or anything like that, so it's probably not intentional. But when he's saying Jesus Christ, he kind of holds it out, and it reminds me of like that like Buddhist monk kind of thing, where they like
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
like the
yeah, and it, probably not intentional at all, but I don't know, it seemed to kind of work a little.
That's interesting. Going back to the don't bother trying to make sense of the lyrics. I will shout until they know what I mean. I mean the marriage of a dead dog sing and a synthetic flying machine. So
A synthetic flying machine I saw in here is one of his older works, I guess. So that makes sense if you put that in context. But other than that, yeah.
so it's just like to me it seems like a stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with. I like that.
Right.
I often speak in stream of consciousness. so like I dig that.
Yeah, like that COVID album.
Yeah. It's streaming in my head. Okay, our next track, probably one of the more well-known tracks off of this album, is In the Aeroplane Over the Sea.
And one day we will die, and our ashes will fly from the aeroplane over the sea. But for now we are young, let us lay in the sun and count every beautiful thing we can see. Love to be in the arms of all I'm keeping here with me.
Totally by Dan Frank.
Yeah?
Anna's Ghost flying all around.
Oh, Anna's Ghost, yeah.
Yeah. No, it totally is.
You heard the singing saws, I think.
I did. It was pretty obvious. I didn't know what a singing saw was until hearing that, and I was like, oh, that has to be what a
That's
singing
gonna be
saw
the
is.
singing saw. It's funny, one of the imagery in here, and I'm not sure what he was thinking when he came up with this line, but it says, how I would push my fingers through your mouth to make those muscles move reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a scene where one of the...
Oh, I've seen that movie. I hate that movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
I hate it.
So one of the guys that is the Thing
Yeah.
sticks his hand in a dude's mouth, and you can see his fingers like stretching through his cheeks.
Yeah.
And that pops into my head when I see this line, and I don't know if that's what Jeff intended, but it's unsettling.
I think The Thing is younger than this album.
It's no. This came out. This was released in 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Kurt Russell thing was that was 80s, mid 80s.
Was it really?
Yeah, trust me, I saw it as a kid.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and the original The Thing is back from the 50s, but
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I didn't know there was original. So.
the John Carpenter one with Kurt Russell was mid 80s.
Well.
Yeah, so okay, that was In the Airplane Over the Sea, and I'm gonna admit this song and the next one are favorites of mine. One of my absolute favorite things to do when I'm listening to this album is if I'm alone in the truck on a hot summer day driving on the highway, and because he just belts out these songs. They are awesomely fun to sing along to when there's no one. I would never sing this song with anybody else around, but alone in my truck doing 80 on the highway on a hot summer day with the windows down and it's just cranked up to ear damaging levels.
Please do this with me in the car. Please.
Well, so if we are able to go to Squano this summer, then then maybe I'll make that happen.
Well, it's not a baby. All right, cool.
Okay, so let's listen to Two-Headed Boy, which I will not sing along with.
Two-headed boy,
So this song to me sounded, at least in the verses, like a deconstructed Creep by Radiohead.
That was interesting. And I've been a fan of this album for a while. I've listened to this quite a bit. It never really occurred to me until this sit through. It's just him and his guitar, acoustic. There's nothing else. There's no drum. There's
stripped back completely. That's pretty intimate in and of itself.
Yeah,
a lot of this album you can tell is him.
definitely. And if you look at the writing credits, like he's got all the writing credits. And again with the lyrics, I really don't think it's worthwhile trying to take a deep dive into what's going on.
No.
One of the things I like about it, I think, so we've listened to a number of emo bands.
You're welcome.
That's generally the ones that you brought in. And I recall, at least on a couple of the first ones, the reason why I wanted to listen to this album is because I've said in the past, this reminds me of Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about those emo bands is they're singing, you can understand what they're singing about, definitely.
Yes.
This is more poetry. I'm sure he's working out stuff inside his head.
For sure.
But not only is it pretty impossible to come at a straight interpretation, it's so open to interpretation on a lot of these that, I don't think there's a wrong answer.
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So our next track is an instrumental. It's called The Fool.
So we set off, Mike, why someone would go on Genius and put lyrics in for this.
For an instrumental?
Yeah, so it says D-do from the last song and then instrumental. But it does have a sort of about thing here, which, this whole thing is not worth interpreting. But it's kind of cool if this is sort of, like it says here, the transition into the military kind of part of it, then I can see that kind of.
Yeah, it sort of had that, the cadence to the drum, sort of a...
It did. So, there's not really not much to talk about here. It's an instrumental.
It's an instrumental. It's a segue.
Yeah, it's a segue into, I think, bigger and better things.
And it's funny because, the next song, Holland, 1945, someone was kind enough to point out that Jeff had said in multiple interviews that this was inspired by the Diary of Anne Frank. To which I would say, no shit. It's Holland, 1945, which is where Anne Frank was hiding during the Nazi occupation.
Right.
So pretty obvious that that's what we're going to tackle at this point. So, having said that, this is Holland, 1945.
2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was a vibe. I enjoyed that. To your point, no shit.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting. So I'm going to take a stab at trying to interpret some of these lyrics.
Good luck.
So he's singing about Anne Frank, 1945, and then there's a line about how now she's a little boy in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a reincarnation theme going through here.
Yeah.
And that's that line about keeping enough of your pieces to carry on, because that's part of the philosophy of reincarnation is, if you believe in nirvana, not the band, but the state of being, that when you reincarnate, there's lessons left that you have to learn before you're perfect. So you bring a little bit of that with you into your next life.
Right.
On your thing. So that's kind of what I get out of that. He's in love with this girl who has been dead for 40 years before. He knew who she was, but maybe she's alive somewhere in the world now in another form.
Right. Huh.
Romantic in a strange way.
Yeah, interesting way of looking at it. So what's next? I know what's next, but what's next?
The next track is Communist Daughter.
Sweet communist, the communist daughter, standing on the seaweed water. Semen stains the mountaintop. Semen stains the mountaintops with cocoa leaves along the border. Sweetness swings from every corner. Cars careening from the cloud. The bridges burst and twist around. And wanting something warm and moving, bends towards herself. The soothing proves that she must still exist. She moves herself.
So I'm going to go back to what I mentioned earlier with the residents in the theory of phonetic organization.
Okay.
With cocoa leaves along the border, sweetness sings from every corner. Cars careening from the clouds, the bridges burst and twist around. Like, I enjoy saying that.
Yeah.
I don't care what it means. Like, that was actually fun to say. Try it.
I gotta look at it. With cocoa leaves along the border, sweetness sings from every corner. Cars careening on the clouds. Careening on the clouds, the bridges burst and twist around.
Yeah, just rolls off the tongue. I will say the other thing about this song is it's strained how I look at mountains. Because they're no longer snow-capped, they're semen-stained.
Oh, don't ever say that again. Yeah, I did like talking about the communist daughter standing on the seaweed water. That feels good to say also, but it you could hear the water rushing in the background.
Yeah. I will say this, like touching on the semen stains, the mountaintops. Unpleasant.
Please don't touch the semen stain
imagery. But it does make me think of there's in one of Tom Waits' songs, he talks about the moon looking like a coffee stain.
Yeah.
Which is always to me is just such a beautiful image. And I can see what he's going for with this. It's a more unpleasant image, but apt. Whoever interpreted these lyrics, and it goes into this whole thing about how it's pondering human sexuality and the moral boundaries. That's a lot to get out of this, and I'm not going to argue it one way or the other. I do think the line "she moves herself about her fist" is probably a reference to masturbation.
Yeah.
Interesting song.
Yeah, for sure.
The next track is "O Comely," and let's see if we've got anything to say about that going in. Very sexualized song, tells the story of someone's adulterous father. Okay, so sticking with the sex theme.
Holy shit!
So interesting story, and I'm glad that you read this too. That song comes in at 8 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yep.
And apparently Jeff made that in one take. And that
Yeah.
holy shit at the end was another band member just like, holy shit.
It sounds exactly how I said it in the
That's awesome. A lot to unpack there.
Oh boy. I don't even want to unpack it.
Now, the one thing I did notice is that he's got some odd pronunciations.
Yeah.
Like I think in particular, where's the one that was bothering me towards the end? Here, he's hair. There's like a number of words.
That's just like exactly that word is just like My Chemical Romance. Run away from hair.
Yeah, he does it in the first verse on a couple of different words, and it's not even. Like, I know sometimes people will change the pronunciation of a word to force a rhyme.
Right.
That's not even the case here. Like, I don't know what's going on with that.
I don't know. I hear that a lot. So it might be a common theme amongst this sort of music, but I don't know.
Interesting. I did see, the reference to Anne,
Oh yeah,
Frank.
Anne, our buddy Anne.
and there's something tragically romantic about the idea of, um, reading somebody's diary from 50 years ago and falling in love with that person.
Yeah,
Like the idea he wishes he could go back in time and save her. Like, that's sad.
it is very sad.
And I get that. I read Anne Frank's diary, and I did grow very fond of her as a person through reading
Yeah.
her words. Because it's not a story, it's, somebody's inner thoughts. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so the next song is called Ghost. It's a
Wow, wonder who this is about.
Yeah, a song about Jeff's experience with a ghost supposedly living in his home that ended up, like many songs in this album, becoming a reference to Anne Frank.
See, there's a picture of her, and the picture, she's a lovely girl, but her picture scares me every time I see her. Not in testament to her character at all, but all right, Ghost.
Ghost, ghost, I know you live within me. Feel as you fly in thunder clouds above the city into one night.
So you know how after 9/11 happened, there was, I know, right out of the blue, I know, there's that thing called the Clear Channel Memorandum where there were like a list of songs, I don't know exactly how many, that they weren't allowed to play on the radio.
Yeah.
I feel like this should have been on this list.
Because of the reference to the baby falling from the sky.
Yeah, and I know this is, what, like 3 years before 9/11?
Yeah.
But like, New York City and someone falling from a burning building might have been. It's totally unrelated, but I looked it up and it's not on the list at all. So
It's funny, completely even more unrelated. I know I keep mentioning The Residents as we're reviewing a Neutral Milk
and you're wearing a
Hotel
residence
album.
jacket.
Yeah. They have a song on one of their albums, and it was probably like, I think, late 70s. Absolutely nothing to do with anything, and it's a woman singing, but it perfectly describes what it must have been like for a farmer out in the field watching Flight 93 crash into the ground.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's eerie when you hear it. I'll play that for you later.
Okay.
It was interesting, Ghost. So it's sort of a dark subject matter, but it was a really upbeat song, like almost celebratory, transcending the shit sink that's life and
Yeah.
being immortal.
Yeah, it was a very upbeat song for a ghost related song. Ghost.
Considering some of the other songs where he's talking about like love and human sexuality are
Yeah.
dark and unpleasant. So the next track is Untitled, and it's unlyriced or instrumental.
Beautiful. Untitled and unlyriced. Let's listen.
So other than AC/DC, this is probably the only time I have heard bagpipes in a rock song.
Yeah. I mean, maybe like, I don't know, Dropkick Murphys might have done something, but,
Well,
like, no shit.
I don't consider ska music, but that's just me.
Thank
Like, I'm a fan of, I don't dislike ska. It's just
I dislike ska.
it's not my jam. Yeah, that's actual legit bagpipes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as much as I love the bagpipes, it seems like most often, if you hear the bagpipes, if it's not Danny Boy, it's Ave Maria, or like that. There are one or two other Irish songs or Scottish that is the only thing people play on the bagpipe. So
Yeah, I just remember, what was it Amazing Grace on the bagpipes at the end of Tommy Boy the movie, and that's like my impression of bagpipes for some reason.
yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Not death, but good stuff.
Uilleann pipes, which I guess are specific to
Ireland, yeah, the national bagpipes of
Ireland.
Ireland.
So not Scottish, but Irish.
Right.
So the last track on the album is Two-Headed Boy Part 2.
There's another.
And according to the folks on Genius, Jeff Magnum explains that the track is about a family that lived in the 1940s in Europe. Although the first time it was played, some of the lyrics were masked to hide Anne Frank's presence. So, about Anne Frank's family.
Ah, gotcha.
Which thematically goes
Which
along
makes
with the rest of
the rest of the album makes sense.
So, Two-Headed Boy, Part 2.
But don't hate her when she gets up to leave.
Well, I thought that wrapped up the song nice. The album nice, not the song.
It was a good coda.
Coda.
I like the sound of him getting up from his chair and dropping the guitar on the floor at the end of the album.
Yeah, that's cool. And walking away.
So I see on Genius that some of the interpretation is that this was his last album. This was it for Neutral Milk Hotel, and romanticizing that idea. It's kind of cool in my mind to think that as an artist, you have something that you have to say, and when you say it, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all I had to do. I had to work my way through this and create it, and I'm done. I don't think that is actually the story, but
Right.
if we're going to romanticize the phenomenon that was Neutral Milk Hotel, I think that's a good wrap-up.
Yeah, for sure.
I also wanted to side reference. So one of the lyrics there, right at the end, he talks about her feeding him tomatoes and radio wires.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of Morgellons disease?
No.
A lot of healthcare professionals believe that it's actually a form of psychosis, but people, it's a rare disorder characterized by the presence of fibers underneath, embedded in, and erupting from unbroken skin or slow healing sores. I remember seeing a documentary on this. People would, like, literally coming out of their skin or plastic wires or metal wires that grow out of them. Some people with the condition also experience a sensation of crawling, biting, and stinging on their skin. Research has found it's not an infection, and a lot of times people have delusions of parasites and whatnot along with it. But it's really weird, and just feeding radio wires made me think it might be a reference to that as opposed to like actually giving somebody radio wires for lunch.
Yeah. Huh.
So that was Neutral Milk Hotel's opus in the Aeroplane Over the Sea.
Yeah, cool.
That was interesting.
I enjoyed that. I'll go back and listen to it like I did with Daniel Johnston repetitively.
Yeah, I really it's weird. It's one of those albums that it's in my favorite rotation. I have a couple of copies of it on CD that I've made, and just every now and then I get in the mood, and it's like a solid week. That's all I'll listen to, and then I put it away for a year or two.
Yeah.
I'll probably be listening on the way to work.
Hopefully next week.
Once we start that up again.
Yeah, which by the time this comes out, we probably will have been in work for 3 weeks. So.
Oh, God, I hope so.
Yeah, because this is June 3rd is today.
So our seasons, our first season of podcasts is coming to an end.
Yes. Yeah.
What do we got up coming up for next week?
Well, next week we'll be listening to Hobo Johnson's 94 Corolla by Hobo Johnson. This album can't be found anywhere other than SoundCloud and bootlegged on YouTube. So feel free to give that a little listen. Hobo Johnson, pretty cool. Only became popular within like the past year or two amongst people. So this is prior to that.
Nice.
It should be an interesting listen.
So you're pulling out something that's legitimately more esoteric than what I brought to the table for this episode.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
No, cool.
And this was, from what I understand, produced in his 94 Corolla. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Well, in the meantime, don't forget to check us out on esotericathepodcast.com. Check out our Sunday night live streams, which show no sign of slowing because we seem to be enjoying ourselves.
And enjoy on this Friday when we see you on Famous Folks, where we'll be interviewing somebody famous that we don't know yet.
Yeah, check it out. We got some exciting developments along those lines.
Yeah, that schedule is not yet set in stone, so we can't tell you what's going on there yet,
But there will be definitely a surprise in your inbox Friday.
that is for sure.
Check it out. All right, until then, thanks for listening, as always, and